Morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, March 21st, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is King of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy. One of the things that we've been seeing and recognizing that has been happening a lot, we just need to address it. We've got a lot of energetic intensity that has been entering the fold over the last few days. We've got that eclipse coming up. We've got this Mercury retrograde coming through. It is really creating this amplification moment. Potentially a lot of your experiences or a lot of the things that you're feeling, just feeling like they're going into overdrive, if you will. What do we do when we experience moments of going into overdrive? We ground. We drink our water. We do a lot of that energetic work. Now, for the feminine energy right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This may be feeling a little bit easier, but one of the things that we're seeing right now for the masculine, particularly masculine energy that is doing this work in relationality to coming into better contact or better alignment with your own emotionality, is this could be that feeling that feels like that extreme amplification on what you may be energetically feeling at this time. A lot of the masculine energy right now may be feeling something that is somewhat akin to that feeling of emotional overwhelm. What do we do when we experience points of emotional overwhelm? We find productive, healthy ways to channel it. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is that masculine energy. And I have to stress here, what has been one of the journeys for the masculine energy that's moving through this right now? A lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, we see that there's been a lot of that energy that is getting back in connection to their own childhood self, feeling that sense of security, feeling that sense of stability, feeling that sense of the feminine creating that energetic space wherein it is safe to feel the things that you're feeling. Sometimes that creates that sense of of energetic overwhelm, if you will, right? Because that modality of being able to know that it is safe to experience one's emotions, it sometimes can feel like that wave of emotions that come through in some way, shape, or form. What is the masculine energy doing right now to help them as they're going through some of that energetic journey? Do we see that this is the masculine energy that's pushing back on it, that's trying to white knuckle it? No, that's not healthy. It's not good. It's not good to do that when you're feeling something of that amplification. Rather, the masculine energy is actually allowing themselves in the divine union frequency to have those spaces and places wherein they can just allow that point of finding the productive path work to be able to feel the expansion of that energy. Right? And even now we see that for some of the masculine energy, the problem with when you're allowing yourself to come in touch with your own emotional center is it almost creates that level or degree of heightened sensitivity. But even now, what do we see that the masculine energy in the divine union frequency is doing? Is this an energy that's pretending that they don't feel these things? Is this an energy that feels like they have to put up this false template of self? No, this is a masculine energy that's saying, if I'm feeling the overwhelm, the first thing I need to do is express it. The first thing I need to do is make sure that I'm not, when I say express, not coming into that state or space of making someone have to experience that, but finding that productive channel, right? Finding that productive flow state, finding that energetic way of moving that channel into a space or place that feels like it creates positivity, as opposed to feeling like one needs to try to pull back on it. So we see even now that for some of the masculine energy and the divine union frequency, this modality, I keep seeing this energy of someone saying, embracing that energetic rush, if you will, to almost allow themselves to basically feel the things that they feel in order to make sure that one is not moving into that state or space of reactivity, right? You cannot practice something unless you are having a moment of being able to experience it. So we see that for a lot of the energy right now in the divine union frequency, it's not so much that moment or that capacity of avoidance, so much as that's almost that moment of, again, a deeper level or degree of energetic surrender, just allowing one to feel something and feeling that gratitude of emotionality in order to give oneself the space or place to be able to practice moving into those new modalities that you can move those energetic spaces in, right? So that's almost that moment that feels like it's not so much what you're feeling, but almost just feeling that sense of surrender and allowing yourself to inhabit it, as opposed to just having it come through as that, like, energetic rush that feels like it's more subjecting someone to what you are feeling. Feminine energy, you may be seeing this on the part of the masculine energy around you right now. What is the feminine energy doing at this time to help the masculine experiencing some of that emotional overwhelm? Is this the feminine energy that's trying to take that energetic burden from the masculine? No. Is this the feminine energy trying to say to the masculine, well, you shouldn't have those feelings? No. Feminine energy is continuing to do that work to almost say to masculine, you have that energetic safe space. You have that energetic place where you are able to experience and feel these things, and having that sense of the resilience that is created in a feminine that is almost saying to the masculine, recognizing and identifying that being able to find those positive ways to express that over emotionality, like that in itself is the gift of the intensification of an energetic connection, right? It leads to that amplification point. And even now we see that a lot of that could, I have to stress right now, especially as we start to move into the energy coming into the divine union frequency, this is going to feel a little bit more energetically difficult for the energy coming into the divine union frequency to navigate. Why is this going to feel a little bit more difficult for the energy of the masculine coming into the divine union frequency to navigate? As we saw, a lot of the path work right now for masculine energy may be going into the divine union frequency while also recognizing and identifying spaces and places wherein you're looking back on your own path work and realizing that your own abandonment wounds may have inadvertently pulled you out of this in the past, right? I told you that intensity can be a lot. Feeling that energetic intensity of the divine union frequency can sometimes feel like it's energetically frightening, right? That's where that abandonment wound comes in, because someone feels that intensity of what they're feeling and it moves them away from the object of their desire. What is the energy of the masculine that's coming into divine union doing right now if they're feeling that intensity of emotionality that they may have previously recognized move them away further from what it is that they aspired to have? The masculine energy is allowing themselves to inhabit and feel what they're feeling, but not letting that modality, not letting that moment be a space of subjecting another to that, right? That is, again, coming into that space of feeling something and then energetically moving it into a more positive channel is how the masculine energy protects the feminine. We're going to say this again, because what does a good masculine energy do? Does a good masculine energy have to act as a protector to feminine from other masculines? No. It starts with the self. It starts with the self, and the feminine energy coming into divine union right now with masculine, seeing a masculine that is experiencing and feeling that overwhelm of an energy, feeling that overwhelm of the energetic connection, but instead of allowing that to push the feminine away, having that be a modality of a masculine that is able to channel their own emotional intensity into positive energetic pathworks, even at a moment that it feels like it is overwhelming them. That is the feminine energy, feeling the confidence and the security of a masculine that's ready to enter divine union, because that is a masculine that even in a moment of energetic overwhelm facilitates a sense or space of energetic protection around the feminine. So even now, what is the feminine doing? Much like we saw for the energy at the heart of the divine union, seeing a masculine that is able to almost, again, energetically protect the feminine by learning to do this path work, even from that overwhelming moment of the masculine. This is a feminine energy, again, creating that safe space for the masculine, because this is a feminine that feels like the masculine is moving through their own self, working from within to create a safe space for the feminine, even through their own emotions. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. this modality that we see here, this ability or degree of masculine and feminine. This is why we see right now that a lot of this path work in separation, it feels like it's coming through with a lot of energetic downloads, right? Especially if you're going through this path work right now where you may have potentially been moving away from a situation or circumstance wherein, again, you're still feeling that energetic connection to someone, but you're also feeling like you're doing that thing that you know is the right thing to do, doing that thing that is right as opposed to what is easy. This is that moment that is that expansion point in terms of one's own energy, because even now we see that for a lot of the energy of the feminine that's potentially moving forward, even at this point, going forward right now from a state or space of energetically trying to heal something, that leaves room to be able to energetically hold space for the energy that you're leaving behind, because that is that energy that's amplifying the sense that you're not necessarily moving away from something or someone for the sake of hurting them. It's almost that moment of saying, I'm doing the hard thing because I know that it is the right thing to do. I'm doing this out of a state or space of compassion. So even now we see that that is that feminine energy navigating that ability of being able to walk and chew gum, holding that compassionate space in a moment of holding towards someone that is energetically still on a journey that they haven't been able to find that healing within the self. And also being able to move forward. How is the feminine energy doing that? Well, we said that one of the affirmations that a lot of the feminine energy is doing right now in separation, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is that point of observation and saying, if I don't let the masculine learn to do this for themselves, facilitating a connection with the masculine is never going to make that occur. The masculine must desire that ability of coming into that for the sake of their own self. Because if not, that's almost the feminine energy saying, I'm going to basically just pour concrete on it. I'm going to basically keep a masculine in a space where they don't get to evolve into their highest version of self. And that is why we see that for a lot of the energy of the feminine going through this journey, it feels very energetically difficult, because that is that moment that one is worried, one holds space for someone, one hopes that another will be able to find their way on that path, while also having to hold space with recognizing that you can't walk the path for them, right? That's something that they need to come into on their own self. So we see that for a lot of the energy of the feminine right now, going through that modality, it feels like, again, having to hold on to some kind of energetic connection. And what are you effectively seeing here? Saying that moment of saying that's the connection point of feeling like that sense of recognizing that aspiration of someone coming into that state or space of being able to heal their own self to be able to get back on the path work to you. Even now, we see that the feminine energy is getting a lot of intent, this is what is so fascinating right now for a lot of the energy and separation. The feminine energy is seeing now energy of masculine that is on the path of doing that independently from the feminine. What is the feminine seeing right now in separation that is giving feminine that sense of feeling like that is the right direction to move into? What is feminine seeing? The same energy that we see that the other frequencies are seeing. A masculine energy that is on that journey of the self, enough so that even now the masculine is working on navigating through their own emotional overwhelm to energetically protect the feminine. That is the feminine almost seeing that signs of life, if you will, on their own journey right now, that is almost affirming and saying to them, such a thing is possible. Here it is. Look at the energy here that is also showing me that that can occur. Masculine energy. If you are in separation due to circumstances or situations wherein you are trying to lead forth the feminine, being your most honest, authentic version of self, even now we see that this is a masculine energy in separation. And I want to leave a lot of space right now for the masculine energy in separation, because again, there's something about your personal path work right now. If you are experiencing new positive energetic connections due to your own ability to lead forth from feminine, from a space or place of vulnerability, of authenticity, almost coming in towards a feminine, almost like embodying your inner child energy, but not the unhealed inner child, the healed inner child, that sense of curiosity, that sense of humility, that art of asking, if you will, coming into that state and immediately seeing some kind of energetic shift in the energy itself in terms of what you're putting forth versus what you're receiving. That is an incredibly energetically overwhelming moment for masculine, because as we saw, that means you have to go into a path of path work and look back on any space or place where you weren't doing that. So even now we see that for a lot of the masculine energy and separation, there's some deep, intense healing that is occurring at this time. But even now, that emotional overwhelm that you're experiencing, this is that moment or opportunity of being able to find that productive way to channel it. Continuing to get our clarification, second card in our 5-card spread for today is what feels like it is productive, what feels like it is a breakthrough. For masculine energy and separation, if you are finding new ways, new authentic ways to connect to feminine, and you're feeling like suddenly these doors are opening, suddenly you're seeing things from a different perspective, coming into that state or space of authenticity and humility, right? When you don't build a world of illusion, when you build a world of illusion around feminine, you leave no room for authenticity. You create that false self, you put that false self out, you build that palace of falsehood, feminine builds it back with you. When the masculine energy leads forth from authenticity, clarity, talking about what they aspire for, like that's almost that feeling that for a lot of the masculine energy and separation, just recognizing and almost saying to oneself, oh my gosh, all I had to do was lead forward from authenticity and intense and humility, just trusting that the feminine will do so in kind, suddenly feeling that sense of seeing something from a different perspective, it can feel debilitating. It can feel emotionally overwhelming. It can feel like that moment that almost feels heartbreaking because, again, the moment that you suddenly look at something and see the ability of something that you may not have recognized prior to this, it's almost that moment of looking back and going, oh my gosh, what was I, oh my goodness, right? It's like that point of kind of identifying and seeing how you may have energetically been standing in your own way. So we see that for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality, I'm going to say it again, having that moment of being able to feel that sense of surrender. And again, even now, what is the masculine energy doing with that overwhelm? Are they holding back on it? Are they subjecting someone to it? No, we see masculine energy. You are utilizing even that now. You are feeling like that is more of that authentic connection coming through. That's just one more path work that you can do. Sharing that journey, telling that story to others. That isn't that moment that requires you to come forth and say, I've been perfect every step of the way. Nothing I've done has been all like this. This is the energy of a masculine saying, no. I'm building connections right now by identifying my flaws, by showing my weaknesses, by allowing myself to remove my armor. When I remove my armor, others approach me that don't wear armor, because that's that moment that we realize that when we wear that armor, everyone is energetically afraid of us. So we see even now that a lot of the masculine energy coming through in this way, it can feel very emotionally overwhelming because it, again, is that moment of suddenly understanding something about one's own self that can almost feel like that, like that sense of energetic surrender. So again, for a lot of the masculine energy and separation, if you're having those breakthrough points, make sure that you're taking a lot of care of yourself, especially if you have a habit of going into unhealthy coping mechanisms. No. Masculine and feminine energy, what is happening right now for the feminine energy that is doing that hard work, moving into a space or state of surrender, moving away from something and almost saying to themselves, I cared about that person. I love them. I did everything I could, except I could not facilitate healing that they themselves didn't see that needed to happen. What is the feminine energy doing? Is that a feminine energy that says I no longer care energetically? No, feminine energy is carrying that grief forward. And what is the feminine energy finding on that journey? The energy in alignment that says same. Yes, me too. I as well. I know that journey. I understand what you're experiencing. Potentially even masculine energy. Potentially even encountering masculine energy that says same. I've also gone through that, but this is also masculine energy taking accountability and saying, what is the masculine energy that they're finding on that journey saying? I'm feeling an overwhelm point because I used to be like that as well. I used to be like, look at that. You see what's happening here? That sense of coming into alignment. So even now for the feminine that is holding a lot of space of grief or energetic grief, if you will, for the energy that you're moving forward away from, but all from, again, not that sense of saying, I'm not talking to someone to hurt them. That's that moment of effectively saying, I'm doing what I know is necessary in order to facilitate that space or state of healing. And the energy that we see here of the energy around them, this is that sense of seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, having that breakthrough point and seeing that sense of alignment coming into space. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union right now. One of the things that we're effectively seeing is, again, energy coming into the divine union right now. This modality, this ability, this observational point for a lot of the energy coming in is the perception in relationality to what you're building forth right now. And even now we see for both masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union, that is that moment that both feels potentially like energetically overwhelming, even while you may be experiencing that sense of energetic celebration. Because what we're effectively seeing at this time for a lot of the energy in this modality is that moment, much like we saw with the masculine energy, having that point of observation. Masculine energy, if you're moving into divine union in this way at this time, this is that moment that may again feel energetically overwhelming. Because again, the pathwork of the energy coming into the divine union frequency is one that feels like it is built upon alignment. So even now we saw that over the last few days, there was that feeling of energetic shedding, right? Moving with intentionality and purpose towards what your aspiration is. It almost feels like that sense of either seeing that past sense of self, right? What you have to like effectively energetically relinquish, move away from. It can almost feel like that maturation process. Or this is that moment of almost effectively seeing around you energetically a lot of the energy kind of moving and shifting to make room for what you are creating with another. Masculine and feminine energy is that pulling them apart? No, it's bringing them closer together. For the masculine energy right now, this is that moment that may feel somewhat energetically overwhelming, specifically due to the fact that, again, if this is the first time masculine energy are entering the divine union, that power of perception can both feel empowering, but also energetically overwhelming, because it almost feels like you may have been reaching a level of understanding on things that prior to this point, you thought that you knew you understood. It's like one of those moments where it's like, oh, I thought I understood something, but now that I'm here, I understand something in a different way. Feminine, seeing a masculine energy moving into that modality, potentially even building a deeper connection with you in terms of their own perception shifting in the heart of building with you into a connection. That energetically for a feminine is, again, a feeling of deep security and safety, because that is the feminine energy that is almost saying to the masculine, when you are open with me, when you are vulnerable with me, I feel safe as houses. I could never feel more safe than when I see the expression of a masculine that is open and vulnerable to me, because that is the feminine energy that looks towards the masculine and says, you are telling me that I am your home. When you are vulnerable and honest with me, you are telling me that I am your home. So this is that feeling of feminine saying, I will continue to build that safe space for you to be, again, to shed your armor, to be your most vulnerable version of self, because you are my home when you are in that vulnerability point, and I will become your home to be able to allow you to have that sense of security. Masculine and feminine energy coming in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is a modality that is a little bit hard to pin down, because as we said, this is something that you're already in the heart of, as it were. You're already in that space or place. You're already in that environment. Masculine and feminine energy right now, one of the things that we see is this is more about making sure that you don't feel overwhelmed in relationality to all of the energetic responsibility that you're potentially feeling right now. As we said, a lot of this energy in the divine union frequency has been doing a lot of energetic unpacking. What happens when we energetically or spiritually unpack? You don't just put things in a closet and leave them. You take everything out to look at, to ascertain what feels like it is helpful versus what feels like it needs to go. So even now, we see that energetically for both masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, there is that feeling of effectively having a lot occurring, trying to navigate a lot of that energy. Because what happens when you're in the divine union frequency? You start to accumulate a lot of that energy. There's a lot. It's like the expansion point of the frequency itself is one that feels like it creates that like burden of responsibility. So what is happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy in that modality, masculine energy in the modality of the divine union right now, make sure that you're taking some time for yourself. Make sure that you don't feel like you have to take all of this on your own. What is the energy of the feminine saying to the masculine that's feeling the overwhelm in relationality to like the expansion point that they're energetically feeling in the connection right now? You're not alone. You're not alone. I am here. I am here to help you. I am here to support you. So even now we see that these energies are working together, because what is happening right now? Masculine energy, the gift of the divine union. I need something. Here you go. I am lacking something right now. Here you go. That doesn't come into a space or place of someone saying, gimme, 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 right? That is that moment that almost feels like that intuitive give and take in relationality to ask and you shall receive. So what is the masculine saying to the feminine to be able to receive something? Not give me this, or I need this, or you're not giving me this. It starts with I am. I am feeling this. Here you go. I am feeling that. Here you go. I am feeling tired. Take a nap. I am feeling overworked. Why don't you go rest for a little bit? Again, what you are able to bring forward is immediately coming through in that modality of being able. But is this the energetic equivalent of someone saying, I have to do all the work. I never get to rest. You make me do that. No, that is that pull. The energy of the divine union is one that pushes forward. Even in the art of asking for something, it isn't one of saying that point of energetic demand. It is one that is that point of just say what you are and get back in kind. What do you need? It will be supplied. I am in need of a nap. Get a nap. Like that energy of, again, having that energetic reinforcement is at the heart of the divine union frequency. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is Four of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. One of the things that we keep seeing that is happening right now is that moment or that empowerment point that is feeling like there's a lot of energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now that's building up into that point of energetic breakthrough. Right? That observational point right now that is potentially happening for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is the pathwork in relationality to not energetically feeling that point of energetic overwhelm, right? And we see here, this is why we identify something here that could be best expressed as that sensation of trying to find what feels like it is energetically sustainable, right? For masculine and feminine energy. And one of the things that we even see here is this modality in relationality to what it is that you're trying to create for yourself right now. We see that there's a pathwork of refinement that's energetically happening right now for some of the energy in the heart of the divine union. Because this ability or this modality of identifying both, again, the feeling of the responsibility or the feeling of the expansion point that you presently have, what you've created since coming into the divine union frequency, with that opportunity of, again, energetic expansion. This isn't that moment of someone that's like moving forward first and then feeling the weight of it. What we're seeing that's happening specifically for a lot of the masculine energy specifically right now in the divine union frequency is this anxiety about overcommitting oneself. And this is actually really important right now, because what we actually see to a certain extent is there's a lot of the masculine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now that is almost energetically looking ahead. They're seeing the point of overwhelm that they're experiencing right now. They're anticipating what effectively will happen in the future. And even now, that moment of being able to see in the present and look forward can almost feel somewhat energetically overwhelming. What is the feminine doing right now to energetically assist masculine that may be feeling this right now? Feminine energy is saying, let's build a connection point with this. Let's build an energetic bridge. What can I do to facilitate helping? What can I do to help you in this regard, right? This is even now the masculine energy having that power and ability to be able to observe and build in this way. Even now, we see that the energetic equivalent of the feminine is one that is almost helping the masculine coming through with new solutions, new alternatives, new ideas. For feminine too, one of the things that we see is a lot of the feminine energy potentially acting as a clear mirror to the masculine energy. Almost saying to the masculine, and this is a lesson that we saw that the feminine received from the masculine just a few months ago, which is that sense of saying, you make sure that you're not overcommitting yourself. Make sure you're not trying to take on more than you can. Make sure that you're prioritizing, right? This is that energy of giving back what one is receiving energetically right now. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now. This breakthrough point feels energetically overwhelming, and it may feel more energetically overwhelming right now for the masculine energy. Why? Because if this is masculine energy entering the divine union for the first time, this sensation of understanding, the sensation of, again, that energetic feeling of the full enormity of what you experience when you enter the divine union, it's almost that moment that for the first time for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing this, do you see why it would be energetically overwhelming? Because this is masculine energy that is simultaneously seeing something with new eyes and recognizing how their path work might have prevented them from seeing this sooner. So that's a lot. That's a lot energetically. That is a lot to be able to have to navigate. So I'm going to say it again, masculine energy. If you're feeling that, make sure that you're drinking your water. Make sure that you're grounding yourself. Utilize that to build a bridge with the feminine, right? Have that be that moment of understanding that even in that time, you need to hold yourself with a little bit of care and a little bit of empathy, right? Because even now I'm seeing that some of the masculine energy experiencing this, it feels, I'm getting here, it feels a little, I can see that there's something energetically upsetting about it. Because I'm seeing here that a lot of the masculine energy may be feeling some kind of enormity and wishing that they had seen something sooner that they hadn't seen until now. I'm going to say it again, masculine. If you're feeling this, remember that that past version of self, you got to give them a high five, because that was the energy that brought you forward to having this breakthrough. So congratulate them. Don't hold yourself energetically accountable, regardless of the time or the distance that it took. Feminine energy, seeing a masculine in this modality, this could be feminine energy that's seeing a masculine energy entering the divine union frequency and having them coming into some state or space of energetic crisis. Why? Because this is that moment. And hopefully if you see feminine, hopefully if you see this right now, you understand that that crisis point isn't a masculine energy that is feeling crisis or cold feet about entering the divine union frequency. Hopefully this helps you recognize that this is a masculine energy that feels like they're seeing things from a whole different perspective. And it's a little upsetting, because that's that moment of having to do a little backwards looking and also present looking and suddenly realizing something that may have taken a little time to come in. So for a lot of the feminine energy, recognizing that, and again, the masculine being able to talk about that, is effectively and energetically an ability to build that energetic bridge, if you will, because that's almost, again, what is the feminine energy saying to the masculine right now that may be having that kind of breakthrough moment, something that the feminine may be a little bit more intuitively aligned to understanding. Feminine's almost like, I got you, here, take my hand. Would you like some water? You know what I mean? Because this is the feminine energy that is feeling the security of a stability of a masculine kind of coming into that higher version of self. Right? That's that masculine energy, even in that point of overwhelm. Feminine energy almost feels like that's that empathetic or energetic release, if you will, of a masculine that feels like that sense of homecoming, but it's homecoming to one's own self. So again, this could be very energetically overwhelming for a lot of the energy experiencing this, particularly even for a feminine, making sure that you see that and you don't feel like that's the weight of a masculine, not saying I can't do this, but saying I couldn't understand. Masculine and feminine in separation. This modality, this experience, this point, this energetic work that we are seeing, as it were, in separation right now, this is the moment that we're seeing that, again, there's a lot of energetic breakthroughs that are potentially happening right now. I'm going to say it again. A little bit more overwhelming for masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Masculine energy, if you're going through this right now, I want you to be drinking a lot of water. I want you to make sure that you're not falling into unhealthy coping mechanisms. Okay? I want you to utilize this right now to kind of reach out to those connectivity points and recognize that even now, if you're having that moment, if you're leading forth in authenticity, if you're leading forth in vulnerability, finding that energetic equivalent to help you on that path is, again, that energetic bridge that you're building. And if this is masculine energy that is leading forward from that space for the first time, feeling that energetic equivalent of like those energies that are there to like hold your hand as you go, even now, it may be feeling a little bit energetically overwhelming, because that's that moment potentially of recognizing how that change starts within the self. That when you put forth in that way, you receive back in kind. So a lot of the masculine energy, feeling that emotional overwhelm right now, but instead of subjecting others to how you're feeling, instead allowing yourself to experience what you're feeling and being able to find a way to articulate through it with the I am statements, talking about how one is feeling instead of accusing others about why you're feeling that. Even now we see that this is a lot of the masculine energy that's getting into this pathwork of self-healing. But the self-healing starts by leading and building connections with other energy, and not just feminine, all of the energy around you. That starts like recognizing one's own cycle, and like I keep getting starting a new leaf. Like energetic starting point. Ground like just start from the ground up. Like again, it's like I get here a lot of this masculine energy just doing this like step by step. Feminine energy, seeing this modality right now, potentially moving away from something and holding the grief or holding the space of grief that you may have, and having to make that hard decision to move away from someone, from a state or space of identifying and saying, I need them to recognize that they need to heal in this capacity. I need them to understand that moving away from them was not based on that moment of rejection, but almost saying to someone like, I need you to understand and see these things within yourself and aspire to heal them. Because if I don't, I just facilitate you staying in an unhealed position. A lot of the energy of the feminine right now is having that energetic support coming through. Again, much like the energy of the masculine going through this, saying same, I know that journey. I am on a similar experience, right? You're finding those energetic connections that are also doing that difficult work. And for the feminine energy too, that feels like, again, identifying one's own patterns and breaking through them, right? So for both of these energies in separation, having a lot of these energetic breakthroughs at this time, it can feel energetically overwhelming. But more so for the feminine, this is that moment that feels less like that moment of internal overwhelm, but more that sensation of holding a space or place of deep grief. Because that is almost holding something towards you and saying, I did everything I could to heal this person. I could not heal them, right? That is almost the feminine energy, feeling the burden of responsibility. And what is the energy of the feminine in separation receiving? If they're saying that, I could not heal them, the energy around the feminine is saying, it was never your job to. It was never your job to heal them. It was nice that you wanted to, but it was not your job or your responsibility. And if they didn't want to be healed, this is you breaking through your own cycle and recognizing that. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread. Look at this. Look at that energy. Look at that beautiful moment where we see our 8 of Cups, and we see that ability, right? Like for a lot of the energy of the feminine right now coming into that modality, right? And this is why we see that for both of these energies in separation, there's a lot of this path work of personal accountability. And I'm going to say this in a way so you understand. Personal accountability doesn't mean I'm taking on all of the blame. I'm going to say that it was all my own fault. No, accountability is recognizing our own adjustment points, right? Accountability is being able to look at something and say, I can adjust for that. I can adjust for that going forward because now I see something. So that level or degree of personal accountability is what we see that a lot of the feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is going through right now in separation. Going through that process. What is the feminine energy in separation doing right now? They're going through that process of accountability, and they're not doing it entirely alone. They're relying on the support of external energy to help them facilitate and recognize what was their responsibility, what was their accountability point, versus what is the karmic burden that they're trying to put on themselves that needs to be energetically removed. Right? So if this is the feminine energy in separation going, I'm holding grief, it is my fault, I could not heal them, right? The energy around the feminine is going, back up, like roll back the tape, like energetically roll back the tape, recognize and realize that it was never your responsibility to heal them. And in fact, again, what is the feminine energy experiencing right now for some of the energy around them? Perhaps the only issue was that the energy itself did not feel like there was anything that needed to be healed, right? Even here, we see that for a lot of the feminine energy, understanding and recognizing that, that is that moment of, again, almost saying, I'm going to let someone be on their path. I'm going to let someone be on their path. And I'm not going to take that energy personally, but I'm also going to recognize and identify that it is not my responsibility to come into a state or space of moving away from my own path to be able to facilitate someone moving forward towards me unhealed. Because that is that moment of the feminine saying, I see what I can adjust going forward. And that is the feminine energy saying, my ability, like the feminine energy is learning the power of discernment to be able to ascertain and walk away from something energetically sooner when they see the path of something being in disalignment, as opposed to saying, I think I can align that. I think I can move that river. I think I can energetically move that river. This is the feminine energy going, why am I trying to move a river when I could just find a river that's moving in the direction that I want to move into, right? That's what the feminine energy is almost learning right now. That is the path of accountability for a lot of the energy and separation of the feminine. And a lot of the energy of the feminine in separation is almost saying, the only thing that you did wrong was assuming that you could do too much. You assume that you could do the impossible if you assume that you could take an energy and move them into something that they did not necessarily feel like they were intrinsically moving towards, right? So even now we see that a lot of the feminine energy taking that moment, it feels like that energetic weight, because that's that moment of the feminine saying, it was not my responsibility. It wasn't the energetic responsibility to fix someone, and which is also a healing moment, saying it's not my fault, but then almost taking that accountability point and saying, it was perhaps like, I see what I can do better moving forward. That observational point in recognizing and saying, I just need to learn how to move away sooner. Like that modality of the feminine is, again, the gift of both forgiveness and accountability, coming into both sides aspirationally, right? A lot of that breakthrough. For the masculine, this breakthrough moment, if this is masculine energy in separation, that is building authentic connections with feminine, leading forth from authenticity, seeing the energy literally change before your eyes, seeing a whole new aspect of something because of the way that you are now conducting yourself. That's overwhelming. That's energetically overwhelming. That can be a lot because it's making you do a little bit of self-review and looking back and being like, why couldn't I have understood this sooner? But again, holding forgiveness for the past self, forgiveness and accountability. You see, the same journey. Masculine saying to themselves, I need to forgive my past self. I was doing the best that I could. I take full accountability for what I could not see. I forgive the past self for not seeing it, and I now take full accountability for what I could not see. That is the energy or pathwork of the masculine healing. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is the same exact pathwork. This is the same exact energy that we're seeing, that the energy that is in separation is effectively having. is energetically having, if you will, because this is that modality that we're seeing here of both energies feeling the difference. What a difference. What a difference it makes energetically when you just build with someone for feminine, when you just build with someone who's already in alignment with your path, that you didn't have to like move that bridge. They just effectively showed you from openness and clarity that that is what they aspired for. And you effectively met them at that point. The easement for a lot of the feminine energy is also that same journey of understanding and accountability. And for masculine, recognizing and identifying that if something is easy, it's not because you stumbled upon something being easy. It's because you did that hard work of finding yourself and leading forth with what it is that you truly aspired and desired for, that allowed you to build a connection with feminine that was authentic enough that you could have it. This is, again, both energies experiencing those energetic breakthroughs and the deepening of connection as you move deeper into the heart of the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency, this modality, this sense, this is now feeling more like that sense of personal responsibility. Right? When you move into the heart of the divine union frequency, it feels like the amplification of responsibility that you feel towards the energy of the union, right? We see even now, one thing about this is making sure masculine doesn't move into that space of energetically feeling overwhelmed, because we see right now that a lot of that intensity of emotionality for masculine can feel very overwhelming and potentially even isolating. So what is the feminine saying right now to the masculine in the heart of the divine union frequency? You're not alone. I'm with you. And being able to ascertain and recognize that ability of identifying that sense of, again, not feeling like you have to do everything. What is the energy saying to the energy in the divine union frequency? Your job isn't to be perfect. Your job is just to do everything that you can do. And that's enough. You've energetically fulfilled your obligation if you've done everything that you can. So even now we see that a lot of the energy right now in the divine union frequency feels that amplification or desire in terms of what they want to do, but feeling the finiteness of what they can do. Like that can feel sometimes energetically overwhelming. So what is the energy of the divine union saying to one another? I see what you're doing. I see you as a clear mirror. You're doing amazing, even if you feel like you're not. Feminine, giving the same lesson to the masculine that the masculine gives to the feminine. See how that works? Clear mirrors. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is... It's hard because a lot of this is about like that sense of grief, that sense of sadness. A lot of this has to do. We see even now, I told you the energy right now that is in the divine union frequency, the energy that's in separation and the energy coming into the divine union frequency is holding a lot of space for what you're taking from the past journey that is energetically hard to carry, right? A lot of the energy in the past journey, it's like a lot of that weight that we see here, right? That's the power of like the self-review. That ability to identify and recognize, it can feel like that heart expansion because again, the goal of being here is not to be perfect. The goal of being here is not to be perfect. It is to come into a deeper sense of understanding. So when we move in that modality, it's very easy for us to get caught in that space or sphere of holding a point of accountability and sadness for what you may have experienced prior to this point. But what is the energy in the divine union saying? Nothing that you did was wrong prior to this point if you're here. If that's that moment, if it brought you here, if it brought you into the energy of the divine union frequency, then that is the healing gesture. Like that is the moment. It's more about what you have to carry with you into it, right? It's that ability of holding space for like what that energetic burden is. So we see even now for a lot of the energy experiencing that A lot of the power of the divine union is effectively or energetically helping one another carry the burden of what it took to be able to arrive at that destination. So we see even now, for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, this ability, this understanding, this anxiety, what is happening right now in the energy in the divine union. There's so much of this recalibration. This is why I can't look back too much. There's so much of this recalibration in looking back and feeling that sense of frustration in what you would have aspired or desired to change that is creating a little bit of finickiness in the moment. No, 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 right? No, no, no. We don't do that. We don't create that space or place. That's not helpful. All we do is the best that we can. And that energy, recognizing that energy of understanding, that grief that you hold, that is effectively what will help amplify your ability to make the decisions that are going to feel best for you now. Hold space. Be grateful for that, because all of that grief is a lesson. That some of us would call that wisdom, right? That is the energy of wisdom. Wisdom is not something that you gain when everything goes easy peasy. You don't gain wisdom when everything is perfect. You gain wisdom when everything goes, like when everything goes sideways is when the wisdom comes. So we see even now that being able to energetically hold space and understand, to look back on those things that hurt and say, thank you, thank you, thank you for that lesson. Like that is that minute that allows you to be able to find that way to energetically navigate what you're carrying, because that is that moment of saying all of those hurts are tools, right? A sword can stab, but a sword can also protect. That is that moment of saying they're hard to carry, they're heavy, they're unwieldy. I have to mind them, you have to use them carefully, but they are still valuable. They still hold intrinsic value. So we see even now a lot of that energy being able to take that and move that into a space or place that it is affirming instead of overwhelming. That is what we see is energetically happening today. For all, I'm going to just say for all of the energy. For all of the energy. That is the message for all of the energy right now. Continuing forward. That is like, that's just all down, like that is the whole message. Continuing forward between our King of Cups in its reversal, in combination with our 10 of Pentacles in its upright, okay? One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Swords. Masculine and feminine energy, and this is why we see even now being able to navigate that to a certain extent. It is something that feels a little bit more, I want to say, energetically heavy for this, the masculine energy. Bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Why? Because it's a type of energy that you have to kind of sit and absorb. It's not something that you feel like you can effectively take that modality of doing something with, right? Feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is a lot better is a lot energetically better at just feeling something and being able to just hold it, right? Like the feminine can just like hold the energetic feeling of having something and navigate through it. For the masculine, this is feeling a little bit more energetically difficult because there's that feeling of wanting to do something more with it, wanting to do everything that one energetically can do. So we see even now a lot of the masculine energy moving forward in this way. It feels, I want to say, this is where it becomes a little bit like that feeling of facing an abandonment wound, because it feels a little bit akin to that sensation of energetic surrender, right? Having in that, coming into that moment, just being able to energetically feel what you're feeling, not being able to effectively put your finger on it or take some action point on it, specifically for some of the masculine energy, because like the thing you want to take your, like do is like, it's in the past, like moving forward in that way, like that's that sensation, if you will, because that is that moment that we see that is almost requiring a lot of the masculine energy right now to just ground into the present. Just allow yourself to inhabit that space of recognizing and understanding where you are in the present. So we see even now, for a lot of the energy of the masculine, particularly in the divine union, This could almost be a lot of the feminine energy in the divine union helping the masculine in this way, and basically saying just like, ground in the present right now. Allow yourself to inhabit the present space. Recognize and identify and make sure that you're like, I just keep getting grounding over and over in the present right now to help you if you're feeling anything that feels akin to an energetic overwhelm in relationality to something that you either wish you could do or something that you're feeling like you want to do but you don't know what to do, or if you're having that moment that you want to like rush back to the past and do something that you can't. Some of us will call that wisdom, just allowing that to be that moment to help affirm where you are presently. Remembering that all of that is effectively you building that. That's your internal GPS system picking up, right? And it's got to like create that center of understanding in relationality to what you've carried. Like, you know which direction to go into because you may have hit some stumbling blocks in the past, right? That's what helps guide you forward. So being able to recognize this right now and kind of turn that into that sense of like presence, coming into that sense of recognition. Even now we see that for a lot of the energy in the masculine, it can feel a little energetically overwhelming. Because that is that, again, that fine tuning between understanding that a lot of those steps that you took in the past, that's why they had to go the way that they did, because they amplify your own ability of being able to make the choices that you need to make now, right? Not letting yourself get caught too much in that energetic regret field. Masculine and feminine energy, seeing a masculine in this modality, you may be trying to help masculine through this right now. It's a little bit easier for the feminine because the feminine, it's a little bit more it's something that's just more aligned to the feminine's energetic space in terms of like their own sensitivity to their own emotional. So we see that for a lot of the feminine energy right now, helping the masculine work through that, helping the feminine and the masculine, and even now, like almost coming into that state, I see a lot of the feminine energy recognizing that there's a lot of the masculine that's going through this internally, and feminine realizing and recognizing that they can't energetically help the masculine going through that internally. So this may be a lot of the feminine energy just trying to like create a lot of like, I want to get creature comforts, things to just help the masculine. Again, that sense of saying to someone, I am here, I am with you everywhere except where I can't be, which is in here. So we see even now that a lot of the feminine energy is trying to like do that to a certain extent. That's happening for both the energy that is coming into the divine union and energy that's in the heart of the divine union. Now, masculine energy, if you are in separation, this is why we see even now, if you're going through this could feel energetically overwhelming if you are in separation, because what we see for the energy in separation right now is effectively that modality where we see that that's that moment that your own ability to be vulnerable, your own ability to come into that sense of deepening of understanding. This is that moment that like it almost feels like you're energetically falling into the arms of those around you, right? But that's that moment of suddenly realizing and recognizing that when you energetically fall into the arms of those around you, there are arms that will energetically catch you. So we see that a lot of the energy right now that is experiencing that in itself is the energy that feels somewhat overwhelming. Feminine energy that's experiencing that moment in separation right now, this is that moment of feminine identifying and recognizing their own amplification of, again, potentially holding space, still holding space for something that they recognize that they can't energetically heal. What is the energy around the feminine saying to help amplify the feminine that is feeling that sense or going through that energetic grieving process to the feminine? I could not heal them. It wasn't your job to. I could not fix them. It was not your job to. If someone does not want to heal, that is their responsibility. If someone does not feel like there's anything to be fixed, it is not your responsibility to do so. It is just your responsibility to observe that that is the case. This is the energy in separation that's affirming to the energy of the feminine that's feeling that weight, saying your only accountability point was not necessarily seeing something sooner, or not recognizing that that would be something that would be harder to change. So even now we see that this is the energy of both masculine and feminine in separation, having a lot of fundamental breakthroughs with the energy of alignment that's coming towards them to help them ascertain What was there of an energetic or emotional responsibility versus what they need to energetically let go? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Pentacles in combination with our 4 of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our 10 of Wands. It's difficult. It's hard. This is one of those moments when you're on the healing journey, when you suddenly realize like, oh, this is the hard part, right? Being able to recognize that the healing journey is a heavy journey, right? Being able to identify and experience that, being willing and able to do that energetically heavy lifting. What is the energy in separation experiencing right now that is helping affirm that journey? You don't have to do it alone. I'm here with you. We are also doing this. This is not the burden. There's the burden that you have to carry, but then there's the energy of feeling that there are others that are simultaneously also carrying that burden. That is the gift of moving in alignment energetically with healing. So we see even now for both masculine and feminine energy in separation, that in itself feels like that path of breakthrough, because that's that moment of not feeling like you are energetically alone as you work through these difficult cycles. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This modality, this ability of identifying and effectively, even now we see a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency. You feel like you're breaking through on some kind of energetic cycle. For feminine energy, potentially being able to move forward right now with masculine, with that sense of ease, finding that energy that is basically in alignment, that wants the same things you do. It is difficult. It is energetically difficult, as it were, because even now we see that for a lot of the feminine energy, that is that breakthrough in terms of what it may have energetically took to have that point of realization within the self. Masculine is carrying that same energy as well. This is masculine energy that's having a bit of that energetic breakthrough. So both of these energies having that sense of energetic overwhelm in relationality to understanding the path prior that led them to this point. But what is this doing? Is this isolating the energy coming into divine union? It's unifying it. It's building that sense of appreciation for both energies, feeling the weight of what you carry, but also seeing that accompanying weight of someone who is also doing that work as well. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the heart of the divine union. This is that modality right now that, again, it feels a little bit harder to place because it's not necessarily creating a sense of breakthrough in your own partnership, right? The foundational energy of you being in the heart of the divine union is already energetically there to a certain extent. This has more to do with that recognition point in seeing one's own self and trying to move into alignment with one's highest version of self. Both of the energies, the counterpart energies right now in the divine union frequency, acting as a clear mirror, even now, is almost requiring a little bit of refinement, because what we're effectively energetically seeing is that energy, wanting to move further, wanting to move more into that higher, like that higher alignment of the self. But what is the energy in the divine union frequency almost energetically saying to one another in the process? Don't overwhelm yourself. Do it at your own pace. Do it at your own comfort level. Find that modification point between your own aspiration versus what feels like it is energetically tenable for you, right? And we see even now that's taking like a little bit of energetic fine-tuning, if you will. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 4 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our 8 of Cups. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our 7 of Cups in its reversal. More than anything, one of the difficulties or hurdles that's happening here for the energy in the divine union frequency has to do with the prioritization of path work, being able to focus and isolate and navigate forward in this way. It's difficult because we see even now that this is that modality wherein the masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is feeling that modality of looking into the past. I told you a lot of this work over the last few weeks has been a lot of self-review, wanting to utilize those lessons from the past effectively. And it is creating, I'm going to see it here, a little bit of that anxiety in relationality to making sure that one moves forward in the right way. I'm going to affirm this to you if you're feeling this. Your way is the right way. Finding that power of alignment, making sure that you're feeling that sense, is one that does not need to be met with that amplification of anxiety, because even the anxiety, I keep telling you guys, I told you yesterday, transforming that anxiety into a sense of elation and excitement is the path. That is the work. So make sure that you're moving forward in that way, right? Because the minute that becomes that point of the amplification of the anxiety instead of elation, that is the moment that you move away from the joy of doing something more into the fear of doing the wrong thing. So we see even now a lot of this energy in the divine union frequency, needing to work through that moment in trusting one's own self, trusting one's own desire, and allowing that to amplify that sense of certainty, right? Because that sense of certainty will empower you to feel that level or degree of confidence as you go forward. This is what we see, that a lot of the energy right now is effectively saying to one another, bringing that sense of joy into the practice, even in the energy of the divine union, the amplification of the joy as opposed to the anxiety. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency, you're getting the hang of this. It's a little bit harder for the energy that is coming into the divine union frequency, because it's the amplification of the anxiety. But again, the divine union frequency is not one that you run into as a safe harbor. It is one that you create the space of gratitude and joy as you enter it. So even now, we see that a lot of the energy that is coming into the divine union frequency is feeling the amplification of energy either within or around them that's trying to rock their own sense of confidence. And what is it doing for the energy that's staying in the divine union frequency? Did I stutter? Did I stutter? That's the energy that we see is the energy that's coming into the divine union frequency, because it is the energy, and again, for masculine, having that moment and looking and being like, no, I know what I want. I'm moving towards it, even in the face of my own anxiety, even in the face of my own fear. I'm going to grab my abandonment wound. I'm going to say, what are you doing? I'm going to throw it out, throw it away from me. And I'm going to stay firm in terms of what it is that I aspire for. Feminine, seeing a masculine that's learned to do that, is a feminine saying they're ready. I feel safe with them. They're ready. This is something that's happening, because this is something the feminine is witnessing. In terms of the masculine being able to have that sense of confidence, and the feminine seeing the masculine being able to stay confident in that modality, is likewise what is happening to the feminine, becoming a clear mirror. Becoming a clear mirror. Reflecting what the masculine is giving back. Me too, right? Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, the energy that's in separation right now, this is difficult because this is the energy in separation that's trying to have to energetically say to their own abandonment wound, did I stutter? That anxiety, that fear, that potentially walking away from something, but knowing that you're doing the right thing. Even now, having that moment, that those doubts and fears saying, what if I'm doing the wrong thing? Can you hear yourself? You're doing the right thing, and you're saying, but what if I'm doing the wrong thing? You're saying, I'm doing the right thing, and there's a voice in your head saying, maybe you're doing the wrong thing. That is the moment that is bringing forth within you, helping you find your path, right? That is confronting the abandonment wound, right? Moving forward and going, I'm doing the right thing, and everyone going, you're doing the right thing. That's not helpful. Having that modality that says, no, I know what the right thing to do is, even in the face of my own anxieties, even in the face of the anxieties of those around me that say that I'm not. That ability to do so, to look at one's own self and say, no, I know. I don't, like, did you stutter? You look at yourself, you say, I didn't stutter. I know what it is that I aspire for. I'm bringing that forth. That is the energy in separation. For masculine, it is the fighting against one's own ego. It is fighting against one's own self. It is fighting against that part of you that says, like, maybe we need to pretend like we're not, like masculine being like, no, I need to be vulnerable. I need to be open. I need to allow that to be that moment or modality of opening. And for the feminine, this is that modality of, again, saying, I cannot heal someone that does not aspire and desire to be healed. It is not my job to bring someone forth on a journey that they don't want to embark upon. I just need to find them on the same path. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 8 of Cups in combination with our 6 of Swords. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with beautiful energy. Beautiful energy. Masculine and feminine in separation. What does masculine discover? When masculine moves into that space and says, when I am humble, I am a king. When I come through, when I am able to conquer my ego, I become my highest self. This is the masculine energy coming into that journey of letting go of what isn't them to be able to find their most authentic sense of what is. And so for that masculine energy, that is one that is not built in that space or place of artifice. That is one that is built in that moment of coming into deeper and deeper energetic surrender. Because that is that moment of the masculine saying, I'm not creating this false version of myself that feels like I have power where power does not exist. This is the masculine saying, I have found power over my own self. I work in that modality. I find that intentionality of purpose. And energetically, that is allowing for that pathwork of masculine, even in separation, to potentially energetically find themselves. Because when we move into that modality of operating from a place of truth, then we find the truth within ourselves because we're constantly pursuing it. So for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this is that modality of masculine saying, to be able to find myself, I just needed to start being honest about what wasn't me. I needed to start saying what I wasn't. I needed to start moving away from that. And the more, and sometimes when you don't need to say, like sometimes like you move away from what's not for you and then you find out what you are. Right? That is that moment that, again, like helping the masculine understand their own journey. But that starts with the masculine being able to lead forth with humility towards those around them, including the feminine energy. Feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Seeing a masculine energy that doesn't need to put artifice on, that doesn't look towards outside energy to show their own sense of strength. A masculine that has that internal confidence, that internal sense of purpose, that internal sense of knowing what they aspire and desire for is also, again, a masculine energy wherein the feminine feels safe, the feminine feels protected around that masculine energy, because that is a feminine energy that says that is a masculine energy that knows their own self and has conquered their own self. And that is an energy that can protect others because they have mastered the ability of being able to protect from their own ego, right? That is the sign. Again, that is the gift of someone who comes into the state of vulnerability and then finds the power of purpose within. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is the energetic equivalent of feminine seeing this and in the masculine energy, even at a moment that they're potentially going through what may be just best described as an energetic overwhelm. Because is this a masculine energy that is pretending that they're not feeling anything as they come into divine union? No. This is a masculine energy that is feeling that emotional overwhelm. This is the masculine energy that's almost unburdening themselves to the energy of the feminine. What is the feminine feeling at that moment? Even at a moment of masculine basically saying, I feel so powerless. I feel so much emotion. I don't know what to do with this. This is a feminine energy saying, I think that you look like a king. I think that your ability to open up to me, I think that your ability to release in that way, I believe that your ability to surrender puts you higher than anyone I've seen, because that is the moment of the feminine saying, I see the true strength. I know what it takes for masculine energy to open up in this way. And that's feminine feeling the true bond with a masculine, because that's a feminine saying, thank you for building with me. Thank you for looking towards me, not as someone that you need to build a world of illusion around, but towards someone that is your counterpart. Someone that is also a part of you, someone that can help you with those emotional overwhelms, because this is the feminine saying, I am with you. And that is the energy of a feminine that almost moves into the modality of the masculine saying, I give you that sense of strength because you are vulnerable with me, right? That is the energy of the feminine, seeing someone and saying, this is a masculine energy that has done the work of the self so much that they can be vulnerable, that amplifies them in being trusted, in being someone who can be given that type of energetic security, because, again, it's like someone being able to navigate their own energetic overwhelm, but not at that same time put it on others, allowing it to then build that sense of intentionality and purpose. That is the energy of the feminine, seeing that and feeling like that bond that is created in feeling the safety and security of a masculine that's learned, and not even intentionally for the sake of the feminine, by conquering their own self, by finding a way to come in contact with their own emotional center, that is the masculine energy that is safe. That is a masculine energy that can protect, because that is an energy of a masculine that doesn't just react, but like allows themselves to feel the full expanse of what they feel and then protects others from it. Masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. The energy that's in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is a lot of that same energy right now. This is a lot of the same journey as the energy coming into the divine union frequency, as well as the energy already in the heart of it. Because for the energy already in the heart of it right now, what we're energetically seeing is, again, this is that modality where a lot of this self-review has been coming into play, a lot of these changes, even now the recognition point and how much one has changed from the time that one entered the divine union versus where you find yourself now. This is almost the amplification of feeling that sense of personal responsibility, not just in the bond between you and another energy, but in everything that you have created thus far. For a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, that feels energetically overwhelming. That feels like the masculine feeling like the anxiety of wanting to like protect what is around them, feeling the expansiveness. And this is, again, what is the feminine energy saying to the masculine in this modality? It's not your responsibility to. It's not your responsibility to. This is something that we do together. And this is the feminine energy almost affirming to the masculine. All you need to do is everything that you can do, and I will do the same. Both of these energies acting as clear mirrors and reaffirming the bond that they experience together, in the sense of also feeling the weight of that shared burden in terms of what they're moving towards versus what they have to bear. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Ten of Wands. May I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Swords in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. What is the energy almost affirming to one another? Your job isn't to do everything. Your job isn't to do everything. Your job is to do everything that you can do. And that's enough. Your job is to do everything that you can do. And that is enough. Even now we see, because what is happening here? There's a moment or modality that is stressing the ability not to come into a state of energetic or spiritual exhaustion, right? We see here that a lot of the energy right now that is in the heart of the divine union frequency, you're like firing on all cylinders. You've got a lot that you're trying to do. It's important, but I'm going to tell you first thing, first message, first priority, Ace of Cups. You got to make sure you're taking care of your own self. You have to make sure that you're sustaining your own self in order to be able to provide for those around you. So we see even now, a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is almost acting towards one another and saying to each other, make sure that you're taking care of yourself in the process of trying to do everything that you can do. Don't forego your own sense of self in the aspiration of becoming your highest version of self, right? You can't do that. It seems a little counterproductive, right? You have to make sure that you're taking care of your own self if you're trying to find your highest version of self. Like, I know that aesthetic path is there, but also it needs to come into a space or place of like energetic moderation. So we see even now a lot of the energy is almost, again, feeling the amplification on wanting to take on more energetic weight, but also asking oneself what is sustainable, right? So even now, what's the energy in the divine union frequency doing to one another, saying, I know you can do it, but is it something that you like, what feels like it is sustainable versus what feels like it is too energetically overwhelming, right? And the energy, what's interesting about this right now, this isn't energy in the divine union frequency that's saying that to throw an energetic rock at another person. This is the energy almost saying at a point of like curiosity to the other energy, which is looking at someone and saying, I don't know what your energetic balance point is. What feels like it is energetically balanced for you? Because everybody's got different levels, right? So even now we see that there's a moment of looking at someone and saying, are you okay? Have you found that energetic balance point? We want to make sure that you're not overworking yourself, right? Like is it sustainable, right? Like that's almost like what we're energetically seeing to a certain extent. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency. This is effectively trying to find that for yourselves at this moment. And what's more difficult about this is you're in the middle of creating it. Like if you're coming into the heart, if you're coming into the divine union frequency, you're doing this right now, and this is actually allowing, it's a bit easier because it's allowing for a more tangible change. You may be making a lot of accommodations if you're moving now into a deepening sense of divine union, and a lot of it feels like you're trying to find, like you're trying to lay the groundwork of what will be that like median going forward. And even now it takes a little bit of like refinement, if you will. So there may be a lot of discussions that are energetically happening, and even now there may be some discussions that feminine is having towards masculine about what masculine aspires for versus what is like energetically realistic. Because even now we see the feminine energy trying to ascertain from masculine that ability of understanding and relationality to like what the masculine's aspirations are versus whether like what feels like it is realistic. That is why we see even now for a feminine energy to see a masculine that is almost in that space of energetic overwhelm feels like that moment of reassurance, because this is a masculine energy that is utilizing the power of foresight, not just to kind of move towards things with a great deal of ambition, but also using that like internal GPS calculation in relationality to what they feel like they can energetically like recognize is possible, versus not wanting to create that sense of aspiration that is too high for the energy around them, right? This is almost the feminine energy saying to the masculine to a certain extent, you know, it's like trusting the masculine energy in the sense of masculine utilizing their own powers in terms of being like energetically like realistic. But we see even now that for a lot of the energy of the feminine, seeing a masculine that already doubles back on themselves in that way is why that's a feminine energy that feels confident in that modality, because we see the feminine energy that's like, I see that they do it first, right? They do it first. And even now, that's a feminine energy that builds that sense of confidence, and a masculine that has that sense of internal foresight as well. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union. In separation. This is what we effectively see that's happening for a lot of the energy right now in separation. And it feels like a lot of karmic healing that's happening in relationality to any pathwork you're moving away from that didn't navigate the way that you had hoped that it would navigate. Recognizing karmic healing comes in a lot of different forms. Being able to look back on pathwork and understand the reasons why something did not work through the way that you aspired to. That is a healing karmic moment, because you are able to recognize and identify the lesson that one needed to take from a specific journey. So we see that for a lot of the energy going through this right now, that moment is what wisdom feels like. It's heavy. It feels like the burden of understanding, but also the possibility of something new. So we see even now for both masculine and feminine energy, that is coming through for a lot of the energy in separation. It's heavy. It's like a breakthrough, but it also feels like that weight of understanding. Masculine and feminine. Masculine, it feels a little bit more like personal pathwork. Feminine, it feels like it has a little bit more to do with your own externalized sense of discernment in relationality to who you build with. Okay? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Wands in combination with our 7 of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our star energy. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union in separation. This is a beautiful pathwork of breakthrough for the energy in separation. Because what occurs for feminine energy in separation when you have a moment of karmic understanding, wherein you suddenly realize that what you were trying to energetically do, there was nothing wrong with what you were trying to energetically do. The only thing that you may have been doing incorrectly was potentially not utilizing your power of discernment in recognizing whether someone was energetically on the same path of you or was trying to move you onto their own path. That's a feminine energy recalling their energy and building a new sense of appreciation for themselves. That's a feminine energy immediately getting the gift back of healing, because that is the feminine energy building that sense of preciousness back towards themselves, finding their own spring again. Having that moment of recognizing that they're coming back into their own sense of self by identifying and recognizing that that is the moment that the amplification point and feeling like one was the difference of having between feeling like one was doing something wrong versus feeling like you are with someone who is wrong for you. I'm going to say it again. The difference between recognizing if you are doing something wrong versus the power of understanding if you are with someone who is wrong for you. For the masculine energy in separation, the power of understanding that if you lead forward from a sense of openness, of clarity, of truth and honesty, that you will bring forth the same in feminine every single time. Both of these energies experiencing profound, deep healing. A bit more difficult for masculine, because this is masculine suddenly calling into question every moment in the past wherein you may not have led with that clarity and openness towards the feminine. So masculine energy being a little bit more caring towards yourself at this time. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This modality of recognition, feminine seeing a masculine that not only is giving you the evidence of knowing what they want, even in the face of energy around them, internal or external, making it hard for them, This is feminine energy, feeling that sense of what it feels like when you're in alignment with masculine energy, because this is feminine energy that doesn't feel like they have to force the spring. This is feminine energy that feels the power and protectiveness of being in a connection of a masculine that wants to build with for you, that wants to build with you. And even now, that's a feminine that starts to feel more vulnerable towards that masculine, because this is a masculine that the feminine doesn't feel like they need to ask them if they are choosing them. This is a feminine that sees a masculine that chooses them in word, deed, and action. It is it is obvious. It is bearing, it does not need to be spoken or uttered because it is visible. For the masculine energy coming into divine union, this power or degree that you are potentially building in yourself at this time, having that moment, potentially pushing back against your own abandonment wounds, seeing that moment of continuing, even now, either feeling the internal abandonment wound, making you feel that fear point, or the energy around you being affected by you moving forward in this way. You holding forth with your own power of integrity. You recognizing and saying, I know when I am moving in the direction that I aspire to, it might be difficult, but that doesn't mean that it's the wrong direction. Is the masculine energy coming into their own sense of power? Because that is the masculine energy that's leading forward with the power of one's own personal intention. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This modality, this ability, this power of effectively, again, recognizing, finding yourself in the heart of the divine union frequency. The only thing that we're seeing here is making sure that there is this like amplification point in recognizing what feels like it is energetically tenable. For the feminine energy, even now, we see that a lot of that is almost the feminine energy trying to give back to the masculine to a certain extent, and almost saying to the masculine, like, there is what you can do and what you aspire to do. Make sure that you're in that space that is sustainable, right? Acting as that clear mirror a lot right now is the feminine, taking a little bit more of that gentle approach, if you will. Because this is the feminine energy almost saying to the masculine at this time, everything that you do is enough. Everything that you do is plenty. Anything that you want to achieve is fine, but everything that you do is plenty, because that is the feminine energy basically giving the gift to the masculine and saying, I am not, the power of the connection is not who you aspire to become. It is what exists between us. This is the gift that the feminine is giving back to the masculine, even as the feminine feels that sense of a masculine that, again, prioritizes the connection between them and the feminine. Both of these energies acting to be their best version of self, but also affirming to each other and saying, even if this is your best version of self, it is perfect. It is perfect. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Seven of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Emperor. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Hierophant in its reversal. That is some of the anxiety point of, again, effectively occurring right now that is happening energetically with masculine and feminine energy in the divine union. And we have to be very mindful of this, right? The difference and the power between showing someone the aspiration of the best version of self that they themselves aspire and desire for, versus someone feeling like they need to energetically rise to that occasion or overachieve, as it were, to be able to find that version of self. That is that moment that I'm telling you needs to remain in the space or place of positivity, excitement, as opposed to anxiety or doubt. If it's not a positive experience, then what is the point of it? What is the point of it? So again, we see even now for a lot of the energy that's going through a lot of this heaviness right now, because there's a lot, I can see it. There's a lot of this self-review that's coming through right now that makes everyone energetically feel like that weight of going in the wrong direction. You can never be on the wrong path. You can never be on the wrong path. It's your path, right? Making sure that you're going through that moment, holding space and recognizing the beauty and value of saying, I'm doing the best that I can. Doesn't mean that I was perfect. I'm going to continue to try to do better. Like, that's it. Like, that's good. Like, that's all you need to do, right? Like, that's the energy, right? So even now we see that a lot of that is almost based with that anxiety of, again, feeling like one is coming in, like when I have to stress this is giving me a lot of the energy of like the overachiever energy of someone who's always, like I have to say, like the energy of someone who's always worried that they're doing something wrong is exactly the type of energy of someone who is always doing something right. I want you to remember that, okay? If you feel that sense that you might not be doing something right, that is because you call that that is the energy of someone who is utilizing their own sense of internal calibration. That's your own scale, you know? That's your own scale. You have to be kind to yourself when you experience that, because that's that remembering that that's you holding yourself to your own sense of accountability. Your own ability to do that is love, because that is the moment of energetically looking and saying, good, you're mindful, you're careful, you think, you utilize that power of discernment. And we see even now that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, that gift of giving back to someone and saying, I want you to recognize that, again, if I'm acting as a clear mirror for you, and I don't see you're doing anything wrong, but you're feeling that sensation, then that is probably the sign that you have a beautiful GPS system in you, but you want to make sure that you give yourself a little bit of grace along the way. So we see even now that a lot of the energy right now of navigating that is like that sense of when we move with compassion, it's often balanced with a sense of anxiety and fear, because that sense of compassion is the desire to move in that space of love. When we move in the space of love, we're always fearing that anxiety of doing something that may be inadvertently hurting something, right? It's hard. It's like that balancing point. But we see even now that a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is trying to remind one another that that's part and parcel for the fact that you're probably doing everything in the right way, right? That's like when you move into righteousness, when you suddenly go and you go, everything I'm doing is perfect. You're like, nah, like that's not good. Like, that's not good. That's not good. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency. This same modality, that sense of uncertainty, is also exactly that sense of purpose coming into play. Because this is the energy of someone navigating through the abandonment wound and saying, I know that if I aspire and desire to move forward in this way, then my internal guidance system, like that is the path and direction that I'm following. So we see that for a lot of the energy of the masculine coming into the divine union frequency right now, it feels energetically overwhelming. It feels potentially even like a little energetically scary. But when we see what the masculine rising to it, feeling the full burden of responsibility, because when we care about something, it's always a little scary. That's the expression of love. That's the expression of empathy. Feminine, seeing a masculine energy, holding that overwhelm. This is the feminine energy feeling like you've given me no greater gift. Because you saying that you're showing me your fear, not letting that fear move you away from me, but almost saying and utilizing that as the empowerment of saying how precious something is. That is the energy of a feminine feeling like this is a masculine I can trust. Because this is a masculine that is saying to me that in their word, deed, and action, they're always holding me within them. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is feeling the value and power of coming on this healing journey. For a lot of this energy, for the masculine, it could be very overwhelming right now if you're feeling these points of breakthrough by leading forth with feminine from a place of openness, honesty, and clarity. And even now, holding that space and place and recognizing your own sense of accomplishment if you've done so, not moving into regret if you're just learning these lessons. Like that is a moment, that is the weight of wisdom. The weight of wisdom is painful. The weight of wisdom is looking back and feeling that heartache, because that's that moment of understanding that arrives. So we see even now the masculine energy that's moving in separation. It's grieving the loss of what could have happened in the past, but also saying the affirmation of themselves, saying, thank you, past, I will do better. I will do better. I will make that matter. I will make those moments matter, right? Feminine energy, having that same modality, this is feminine energy, holding on. And again, if this is something of the feminine, having to relinquish a masculine energy, this is the feminine energy saying, I aspire for them one day to do better. I'm not going to be able to wait for them to, but the letting go process is one and saying, hopefully one day they will understand and they will find themselves, much like a lot of the masculine energy and separation that we're seeing right now. That modality of recognition and then affirmation in terms of wanting to do better. Continuing to get clarification, and unfortunately, for a lot of the energy right now in separation, that is that moment that feels like there was a fundamental separation process that had to occur. For the feminine, this is the feminine potentially coming into separation saying, I cannot heal them. They need to find themselves. And masculine saying, I had to move away from something. I understand now. It came at a cost. It came at a lesson, but I need to make that lesson worthwhile. I need to make that matter. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ten of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Star. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with we keep getting this card coming through the last few days, our Two of Pentacles in its reversal. This is hard because for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this is an acceptance and path work that doesn't feel like it's in alignment. Again, masculine and feminine energy right now. If this is a feminine energy that's moving away from something, feeling like they were always doing something wrong, suddenly having that breakthrough point in separation that says to themselves, if I was in a modality where I was feeling like I was doing everything wrong and I could not identify what I was doing wrong, and everyone around me is saying I wasn't doing anything wrong, perhaps that was because I was with someone who was wrong for me. That is that modality of accepting the path work of two energies moving in different ways. And that's that moment that feels like a point of healing, because that's the observation point of the feminine saying, perhaps I wasn't doing anything wrong. Perhaps I was just with someone who was wrong for me. For masculine, same energetic moment, potentially coming through right now. Masculine, if you are coming through in a space or place of authenticity, if you were building a world of illusion and then finding an energy of a feminine that didn't feel like they were being true to you, that's funny. If you were building that sense of falsehood and then that energy of falsehood came to bear, this is masculine coming into that point of separation and understanding that you can't fake a connection with feminine. You have to move with authenticity. What you give is what you receive. So for a lot of the masculine energy, this is very difficult because this is masculine trying to come into that state of like openness and clarity and humility. And even now it feels very difficult for masculine because it feels a little bit like shedding armor. But this is masculine affirming and saying to themselves, if I want that vulnerability from feminine, I must first provide it. If I want to create that space of feminine being safe, I need to show them that. If I want honesty from feminine, I need to be that point of honesty. So for a lot of the energy of the masculine right now, this is feeling very difficult, but this is also masculine energy that is almost feeling like the more vulnerable you are, the more you're calling forth that perfect counterpart that's going to be able to find you in that space. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is that energetic equivalent of feeling like you found that. Right? And that point of, again, recognizing if something feels easy, no. It's not that it feels easy. It's because you're looking at someone and saying, I know how energetically difficult it is to make something feel this easy. I know how much path work it would have required to make something feel like it moves so smoothly. That's the mutual appreciation of two energies that feel like that sense of alignment, having found themselves on the path and having done that same work. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the heart of the divine union frequency. This modality, this point of observation, what we're effectively energetically seeing here to a certain extent, this is what we are seeing, that even now is creating that sense of being able to come into that space and place of appreciation for where one is, while also holding that desire for what one aspires to be. And we see even now, not coming into that modality of energetic comparison is really valuable and important, because we see that even now, this ability to try to bring forth the best in each other, it cannot feel energetically competitive. It just needs to be something that should be an act of joy. It should be an act of celebration. So making sure that you navigate forward in that way and allow the joy to be a part of that is vital. Because if not, it starts to build that sense of anxiety and fear. So the affirmation that's occurring right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is a reminder of saying, I aspire, I want you to be your best version of self, but know at every moment that the self you are is perfect, just as it is. That is the act of compassion, while also motivating someone to come into their best version of self. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our star energy and our Hierophant in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Cups. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is what we're effectively seeing right now, and this is why energetically what we're seeing that's happening right now, again, a lot of the feminine energy needing to give that energetic support to masculine right now, because the masculine energy is energetically working very hard right now to try to move into that space or place. Like, this is that act of love, right? Because what happens when you're moving in that space or place of love? You're not just doing it for one's own self. It's that sensation of doing it for another, right? This is that energy of like compassion, which is like the energy of compassion being, again, saying to oneself, I don't need you to like go beyond. I don't need you to go beyond what you can energetically do to be able to show me what that love that looks like. I can feel it exactly in where you are. Don't feel like you need to like, that's the thing with the energetic feeling of love, which is like that sensation of wanting to do everything for the sake of another. Being able to come into that space or place of basically saying like, having that moment, just being able to have that time, being able to share that experience, that is enough. We see to a certain extent, it's a time of year. It really is a time of year. This modality of effectively almost saying to one and saying like, I appreciate you just as you are. Where you are is perfect. And that sense of wanting to do more, constantly wanting to give more, like that is also an energy in that frequency. But it's also the energy, and again, what does the energy of love say? The energy of love says, I would do anything for you. What is the response to that? The energy of love responds, I would never ask you to. So we see even now that a lot of the energetic equivalent that's coming through on this is that modality of expression on building that sense of energetic compassion for one another. By amplifying that one's own ability to find one's highest version of self isn't the barometer that's pertaining and maintaining the connectivity point in terms of maintaining the divine union frequency. It's that moment or that affirmation of saying to one another, you are enough. You are enough. You are perfect. If you want to be better, I want that for you, but I'm not asking it of you. Your enough is good enough. Continuing to get clarification on this, the energy right now coming into the divine union frequency, you're both basically doing that. And that's what we keep seeing right now. We're seeing that a lot of the energy in the divine union, coming into the divine union frequency, is trying to pull the manifestation goals into the present faster. So you're trying to operate on multiple cylinders right now, because again, that moment of, again, not feeling like one needs to keep up with another, but feeling that sense of joy, feeling that amplification of the joy as opposed to the anxiety is really important at this time. Masculine and feminine energy in separation, this is that modality of these energies coming into a massive healing gesture in separation. Feminine coming back into their own power, recognizing that if there was something where, again, you were doing everything that you could do and it wasn't enough, perhaps that was not because you were doing something wrong. Perhaps that was because you were with the wrong person. For masculine, coming into that modality of recognizing that if you're leading forward with feminine from a place of honesty and openness, as difficult as it is energetically, it calls forth the energy of a feminine that is in true alignment to you. Both of these energies, I gotta say, doing a lot of hard work here. This is a lot of hard work. And a lot of that is breaking through their own cycles, coming forward with a state of intentionality in terms of recognizing what feels like it is something that is serving the self, or what is something that feels like you need to observe within the self, so that you can move against that to be able to come into that best, better version. This is the energy of these connections here. What's important? Are they doing this for the sake of partnership? No. They're doing it for the sake of their own self. You don't do this work to be able to do it. When you're doing this work well, you start doing it for the sake of your own self, and then it brings forth someone to find you in that space. So even now we see these energies aren't feeling like, if they're encountering each other. You see this? And they're probably saying to each other, I'm not ready for partnership. I'm working on myself. And the other person's going, me too. Me too. Yeah. Right? Like, these are the energetic counterparts. Final card for today's spread, between our Two of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with our King, our Knight of Cups. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Temperance card. Everybody needs to slow down. Everybody needs to slow down. Everybody needs to slow down. And I know, I can feel this thing. I can feel this sense. I can feel this like energetic expectation coming through. Take it out of anxiety. Just bring it into positivity. Just move it into positivity. Just move it into positivity. Say to yourself, am I anxious or am I excited? Am I anxious or am I excited? How about we turn it into excitement, right? So we see even now a lot of this energy across all of the frequency is requiring that level or degree of basically, working through some of that feeling of energetic anticipation, right? What's happening right now? It's happening across different. A lot of this is because you're feeling the expectation. A lot of the energy coming in the heart of the divine union frequency is feeling the fact that there's a lot of energetic connections that are coming into being right now, of positive energetic connections happening. So a lot of the energy right now in the higher frequencies is navigating the fact that there's a lot of new energetic connections that are coming through with the energy that's doing this path work. So again, that sensation is really important, because being able to for the energy in separation, allowing this to be a moment, if you're having these breakthroughs, not letting it feel like that moment of devastation, but instead feeling that sense of positivity, that is really important during this time, especially for masculine energy. If this is leading that point of recognizing past cycles, not getting caught in feeling that sense of regret. For feminine energy, coming into your own power, again, a lot of that feeling, I don't want you to start amplifying it and feeling the anger or the frustration towards the energy that you may have moved towards that you're now realizing wasn't necessarily in alignment with you. Nobody's allowed to get righteous here, right? Just that point or power of observation is really important to be able to navigate going forward. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine, and again, that's that moment too, being able to ground through some of this energy right now is really important. And that's why we see even now a lot of the energy that's even meeting each other at this time in separation is almost taking that point of energetically slowing things down, if you will, to allow for that just to be the equivalent of being able to energetically enjoy the experience of understanding one's own self. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is remembering a lot of this energy right now coming into divine union, there's this moment of wanting to just like rush forward and pull all of those manifestation points into the present. Don't forget to enjoy like the work of bringing them forth. Like, you know, that is a continual like motion. So being able to enjoy that, like that ability of finding joy as you move towards those things is important, because now it's like that understanding that there's no sense, it's not that you're trying to go anywhere, right? You won't feel that sense of frustration if you just enjoy where you are, right? And so some of the energy right now entering the divine union frequency is, again, trying to move forward, but also enjoy the moment. While the energy that is in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is the same message. Enjoy the moment. Find joy in doing this. Even if you're moving in this modality right now that may feel somewhat energetically frustrating, being able to utilize that and recognize that like your own journey should be one that amplifies joy instead of frustration. Like that is incredibly important at this time, because we see even now a lot of this feels like the amping up energetically. So amp up the joy. Don't amp up the anxiety. Choose to move that into the space or place that allows you to feel that sense of positivity. Because even now, what is the energy saying to one another in the heart of the divine union frequency? Like, I've got you. You're doing great. Keep going. If you aspire for better within yourself, that is wonderful too. But what is the energy in the divine union frequency saying to one another? You are perfect just the way you are. Bottom of the deck on this reading, King of Wands. King of Wands. Why? Because, like, again, you know, one of the things that we're seeing here has to do with that idea of like infinite possibility, right? I told you we've got that soup mentality happening, right? Feminine and masculine have like a little bit of this difficulty when it comes to like something that's enjoyable. Feminine energy, if like the soup is good, don't touch the soup. Just leave the soup as it is. Masculine's always like, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. What if we made more soup? Like, what if we made the soup bigger? What if we made like a super soup? Like that ability to do so, again, as long as it's positive, as long as it's productive, that's beautiful, right? And even now we see not allowing one's own aspirations to be a negative in terms of where you are, right? That's the difference between ambition and imagination. Ambition is always saying it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. Imagination goes, but what if there was more? But what if there was more? But what if there was more? Right? So being able to navigate that space of not being into the modality of being like, it's not enough, but going instead of being like, but what if there was more? Those are the same. You see how those are the same energetic gestures, but like different, just one, like they're just mirroring each other. So choose to move in that space of, again, finding the joy in it. Don't move into that thing and saying, what if they're like, I want more, instead of being like, what, you know, create that sense, work through that, build on that right now for all of the energy is going to be effectively helpful, because I can already see a lot of this energy. It's because of this Mercury retrograde coming. It's creating this space. Everyone's getting all like, just bring it into that sense of saying, I'm excited. I'm not anxious. I'm excited. Okay? It's fun. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never PM you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.